Update, brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300. Manx Radio's Update with Andy Wint.
Fast away, good evening, it's 5:30. This is Update for Wednesday, 15th of November 2023 from Manx Radio. 30 minutes to look at the latest news on the Isle of Man, background to the news and sport and business and Sea Watch and travel updates and the newsmakers in person. This evening, Liverpool Ferry Terminal was hopelessly ambitious. 50 breast clinic appointments cancelled. Planning inspector misled over Wright's pit. Get involved in politics, say Lazaire commissioners. Dean Harrison's joined Honda Racing UK for next season here at the home of the halfway horse tram.
Man Benham for all your business and legal needs.
First of all, at 29 minutes ahead of 6 o'clock, the Update News headlines. Faster my Siobhan Fletcher.
Faster my. The Isle of Man Ferry Terminal project in Liverpool had a rushed delivery timescale, was inadequately planned and initial budgeting was hopelessly ambitious. That's the verdict of the chair of the Public Accounts Committee, which has published a report into government's handling of the scheme. Nearly 50 people have had their appointments at the Manx Breast Clinic cancelled due to a delay in getting locum doctors to the island. Women had been told they may be offered appointments in Manchester instead. However, Manx Care has now told Manx Radio this may not be possible due to capacity issues there. Albury and Russian commissioners will host a public meeting to discuss the ongoing assessment of Eristane and Scard as a potential location for a wind farm. It's been held at Russian Primary School on Wednesday the 29th of November. It'll start at 7 p.m. Further afield, Amnesty International wants the UK government to scrap an underlying policy which allowed the Rwanda scheme to be brought forward in the first place. The Supreme Court ruled earlier that the UK government's plan to send some migrants to the country is unlawful. West Midlands Police say they've arrested two 12-year-old boys on suspicion of murder. A 19-year-old man died after being stabbed in Wolverhampton on Monday evening. And the rate at which UK rental costs are increasing has hit a record high. The Office for National Statistics say they rose 6.1% in the 12 months to October. They're your headlines. News at 6.
Man Benham. Contact us by phone, video call, email or face-to-face. We're happy to connect with you. Manx Radio weather with Manx Glass and Glazing.
Now, there was a strong wind warning out in the North Irish Sea. State of sea moderate, becoming rough, but it's falling slight tonight. Dry and clear across the Isle of Man. The weather tonight, a moderate westerly veering easterly, low temperature 7 Celsius. The motor vessel Manxman is late in and late out tonight. For tomorrow, Chadane, cloudy and dry to kick off with a light to moderate east-southeasterly. Rain will arrive during the afternoon tomorrow, up to 11 Celsius. Overnight minimum 6 into Chehenia. Outbreaks of rain first thing on Friday, drying up throughout the day in a light southerly, freshening later, highs 10 Celsius. Tides on the way out, low water 19 minutes to 7. High tides 21 minutes before 1 a.m. Low water tomorrow morning is at 6 minutes before 7. Sunrise 13 minutes to 8. Tomorrow afternoon's high water at 1:45.
Manx Glass and Glazing are proud to be an approved contractor with Construction Isle of Man. Call the team on 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
The Isle of Man Ferry Terminal project in Liverpool had a rush delivery timescale, inadequately planned and proved to be hopelessly ambitious in its initial budgeting. The verdict of the Public Accounts Committee, which has this afternoon released its finding. Chair of the committee, Juan Watterson, MHK.
It's definitely a difficult read, I think, for the department and for government. I think it exposes some areas of weakness, but I think it also does, in fairness, recognise that this is a complex scheme. It's an unprecedented scheme in terms of what the government's tried to do. It got some things right, it got other things wrong, but the things that have gone wrong have cost a significant amount of money to the taxpayer, but not all of it was entirely within government's control.
You say rushed delivery timescale, inadequately planned and hopelessly ambitious in its initial budgeting.
Yeah, project that was due to be costing £18 million has ended up costing 4 times that. So that's a significant amount of optimism bias there in terms of what it was expected to cost back at the time. There have been unforeseen elements to that as well, but it was something that seemed to be very rushed. It seemed to be a continually burning platform for them, and the project seemed to move at a pace that it was faster than they could plan for.
It is a comprehensive report which examines the timeline of events closely. A summary of your findings would suggest a lack of proper scrutiny and maybe a failure to include specialist advisors to assist in project risk management.
Certainly the department realised that this was a scheme that was bigger than and different from ones that it was used to, and it did take on specialist advice. I wouldn't say that was universally successful in terms of getting all the advice that they needed at the right time. For example, there was around the lease, about the time that they took on the lease, whether they fully knew all of what they were getting. They certainly hadn't done all the surveys that you'd expect would have been done. There was a big spoil heap on the site that sort of prevented from meaningful groundworks being done. They hadn't done the due diligence to know that actually what discovered later to be 300 voids under the site, a significant amount of archaeology, which again didn't seem to have been investigated, despite that area of Liverpool being well documented in terms of its archaeology. So there were things that were most definitely missed in the rush. I think it's probably be our conclusion on this.
Nearly 50 people have had their appointments at the Manx Breast Clinic cancelled due to the delay in getting locum doctors to the Isle of Man. The story from Tessa Hawley.
Manx Care says it's currently experiencing some disruption due to lack of immediate locum availability. This is affecting the regular assessment clinic for new referrals and causing issues for people who need to be recalled from the breast screening service. It means all one-stop appointments are being cancelled. Manx Care says the 48 individuals who were booked into clinics until the end of this year will be contacted and rebooked to attend approximately 7 days after their initial planned appointment. Women who were requiring a follow-up appointment following a screening mammogram had been told they may be offered appointments at the Nightingale Breast Centre in Manchester instead. However, Manx Care has told Manx Radio today this may not be possible now due to capacity issues there. Temporary doctor cover has been secured, and Manx Care says the delay now is due to the availability of the replacement consultants who are coming from the UK to assist. It stresses that breast cancer surgery remains unaffected, and anyone who feels they have an issue is asked to contact their GP or the breast care nurse on 650 194.
Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates.
TT competitor Dean Harrison's joined Honda Racing UK for the 2024 season. He'll join fellow mountain course riders John McGuinness and Nathan Harrison at the team. Dean told Manx Radio today what it means to be part of Honda for the next campaign.
I'm excited, to be honest. Obviously, being part of the Honda family is a massive thing for me, and especially to be on it at the TT means a lot. And obviously, we're doing the British Superbike Championship as well. So, to be honest, I'm just looking for a new challenge, new bike, new people, and just looking forward to what the future may hold, sort of thing. I can't knock the Dow team. Ultimately, I was there for 8 years. That they stood by me. I did everything I could for them, and I still get along well now. It was sad to leave, to be honest. Just when you've been somewhere so long, you create good friends and things like that. And I just think with it's nothing to do with the team at all, really. Obviously, with the Kawasaki wasn't sort of being improved in ways, whereas the Honda obviously are striving to the next level, really. Obviously, with new bikes coming out, especially the last few years, there one new bike, there was another new bike. So I'm just looking forward to a challenge of new things, really. It's the experience as well. Obviously, working with John, obviously Nathan's coming through. Unfortunately, obviously he missed last year, which were bad. So I'm looking forward to seeing him jumping on the bike at next year's TT. But no, working with John will be a thing as well. Obviously, his results speak for themselves. He's been there, done it. The experience is invaluable. So working with somebody like him and trying to help me in my riding as well, I think it should be good. I think for this will be the tool for the job. It definitely won't be through lack of trying anyway, so we're trying his best as always, and hopefully it gives us a speed that we've not that we've been missing. Well, maybe we have been missing a little bit of speed, so I'm hoping this will bridge the deficit slightly. The resources of Honda are massive out, so having the whole team behind you at the British Championship and the TT, I think it'll help complement them both. I just think at BSB, I'm not a million mile away this year in places, so a few top 10s and things, so I'm hopefully now the Honda will give me also the next step at the level of BSB as well as the TT.
A Tynwald committee has raised concerns that a planning inspector had been misled over the Department of Infrastructure's application to extend its use of Wright's Pit North to 2030. A report due to be considered in Tynwald this month recommends the extension to be approved because plans are in place for a replacement facility. But the Environment and Infrastructure Policy Review Committee heard from Infrastructure Minister Tim Crookall, MHK, Chief Officer Emily Curfey and Deputy Chief Officer Geoffrey Robinson that the plan for the new site hasn't been submitted.
I'd have to go and read the full inspector's report to see exactly what they're relaying that to, because I don't know which application they're referring to. But in terms of an application that is in awaiting determination, we have an application in for Rockmount that is awaiting that determination.
I think it'd be useful if you could write to the committee with the findings of that, because there's a great concern here that a planning inspector has been misled in some way, and I think we need to get to the bottom of that.
As it stands today, then, we are in a situation where we've got a site that's been operating illegally in terms of planning for about 3 years. We've got DEFA, who since March has been issuing invalid waste disposal licences. We've got a working plan for landfill operations that dates from 2009 even. If this was anyone else operating like that, they wouldn't just have the book thrown at them, they'd have the full library. So can I ask, how on earth have we ended up in a situation like this, and is it actually being taken seriously enough, and I suppose this is for the Minister, as a political priority to correct?
So to pick up on your last point first, it absolutely is a priority to sort out, working unlawfully if you like, but working with the other departments involved in this is, I suppose, what's got us through that to where we are at the moment. But we absolutely need to sort, and are working to sort this situation out as soon as possible. It's not acceptable. Everybody needs to know exactly where we are and be working legally with the right permissions, and as has just been said, we are working with everybody involved to put that right as soon as possible.
Sea Watch with the Isle of Man Steam Packet Company.
Motor vessel Manxman didn't leave Heysham until 25 to 5. She won't be in till gone 8 o'clock tonight, or maybe perhaps shortly before. Tonight's departure then is at 9 o'clock, which will get to Heysham shortly before 1 o'clock tomorrow morning. In fact, tonight's 9 o'clock has been put back even further till 9:45, so that arrival is going to be well after 1 o'clock. Tonight's Manxman, 9:45 to Heysham. Overnight departure from Heysham 3:30, back to Douglas gone 7 tomorrow morning, and the morning departure, the 9:30 Manxman to Heysham, will go at 10:15 because of tidal restrictions in Douglas Port. You're asked to check in no later than 9:45.
Like the Steam Packet on Facebook for the latest sailing information.
Lazaire Commissioners is urging residents with an interest in politics to join the board at the next local election. Chair Julian Tear says the authority needs people from all walks of life to make their best decisions for residents.
Well, as Chairman of Lazaire Parish Commissioners, I would request anyone interested in the future of Lazaire Parish, the rates, parishioners' pay, services provided, statutory boards, and all planning applications, etc., to at least inquire what the local authority does. Our monthly meetings are open to any parishioner who would like to attend, to come and learn what is involved. Democracy matters, certainly in the Isle of Man, which follows due process by law. Do not waste your vote or your voice. If you want your knowledge put to good effect, then find out what is needed to be a Lazaire Parish Commissioner and what you can do. At the moment, I think the biggest issue is the Ramsey Town boundary extension. Obviously, we're going to lose a considerable number of ratepayers if this goes ahead. There's the roads, which involves hedge cutting, sweeping, gully emptying. The other things in the parish, like listening to queries, taking complaints. We also take an active part in the statutory boards, and also, very important, is planning planning applications and their outcome.
Manx Radio Business Briefing.
At 5:45, Ocado shares shot higher today after it was announced a deal to provide fulfilment technology to healthcare provider McKesson Canada. Under the terms of the agreement, Ocado Intelligent Automation, OIA, will provide automated fulfilment technology at a distribution site for McKesson Canada. This marks Ocado's first warehouse fulfilment technology deal in a sector outside grocery retail, and will see the company provide the AI-powered software applications necessary to operate that technology long-term. For a full daily market report, go to ramseycrookall.com. Electric vehicle makers and dealers have increased their use of discounts to boost falling sales. The average discount in Germany, 7%, although some makers are offering up to 20% off. In the UK and US, average discounts sit around 10, perhaps 11, 12%, respectively. In the UK, 2/3 of EV sales are discounted, according to the Financial Times. EV sales growth peaked mid-year, took a dramatic dive since September. If this continues, car company profits may fall as they try to tackle climate and emissions targets. At the end of the early adopter phase has been cited as a reason for falling sales by Volkswagen in Europe. Earlier this year, VW paused plans to open an EV battery plant in Europe, and Tesla's continued to cut prices. German parts manufacturer Continental is to cut tens of thousands of jobs in its EV transition. And Blackburn-based petrol group EG says it'll buy Tesla's charging network across Europe, and then they'll be usable by every electric vehicle regardless of brand. EG says it plans to increase the number of charging points in its network from about 600 to more than 20,000.
The Stock Market Report, brought to you by Ramsey Crookall.
UK and European markets closed higher. The dollar gained after US retail sales fell less than expected. Oil dipped amid signs that the US, the world's biggest oil producer, is at a peak production, and gold eased as the dollar ticked up. The numbers from Ramsey Crookall. At the close in London, the FTSE 100 up just over 0.6%, 7,486. The DAX in Frankfurt up 0.9% at the close, 15,748. And a short time ago in New York City, the Dow Jones Industrial up 0.25%, 34,911. The Nasdaq Tech Stocks Index up 0.4% at 14,154. And the S&P 500 in Chicago up 0.33%, 4,509. In the exchange markets, the British pound sterling trading at $1 24.2 cents, €1 14.5 cents, and 22 South African rand 64.3 cents. And in commodities, gold's down fractionally, almost 0.1%, $1,962 per troy ounce, and a barrel of Brent crude is down just over 0.6% at $81.80.
You've got an investment plan?
Yeah, Mike set it up.
But don't you need loads of money to do that?
Not this one. It's called Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, and you pay in monthly as little as £100. So it's like saving regularly, really helping us invest in the future. For a house, or the kids' education.
£100 a month? I could easily do that.
You should. The sooner you start, the better.
Invest in your future with as little as £100 a month. Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, the island's investment specialist for 75 years. Call 717171 or visit ramseycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
The owner of Faragher's Eggs in Andrews says rising costs and government red tape dealt the final blow to their business. It's the third egg producer on the Isle of Man to stop trading this year. The story from Simon Richardson.
Last week it was Faragher's Eggs in Andreas who announced the business was to close when the current flock stopped laying. Owner Jackie Faragher told Manx Radio shipping company Mezeron had imported her birds without a problem for many years, but after DEFA discovered the company didn't hold the relevant licence, imports have had to stop. She claims that after dealing with rising costs for both birds and feed, it was government red tape that dealt the final blow.
It's strangling us. I mean, they put on all their paperwork, freedom to flourish, keep man farming, and then tie us up in red tape.
Jackie, this must be very difficult for you. Was there not some way that a compromise could have been reached whereby you could have brought the stock in, as you have done for many, many years without incident, and maybe some of the issues over licensing could have been sorted out at a later date.
Yeah, 100%. Had they have allowed the last lot of birds to pullets to come in, obviously they'd have been starting to lay now, so that would have got us through. They probably would have bought us 6 months, and then they could have hammered out some sort of resolve to sort of sort out an importation licence, but would have just kept us ticking along nicely.
Manx Radio contacted Mezeron, but the company said it didn't wish to make any comment. We also contacted DEFA over criticism levelled against government by Jackie Faragher for an alleged lack of support to the sector and excessive red tape, but have had no response.
Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300. Manx Radio Sport.
Faster My Sports Editor Rob Pritchard.
Faster My, good evening. The Isle of Man's badminton teams have got their first victories on the board at the start of their latest campaign in the Badminton England Senior County Championships. This season sees Isle of Man 1 contesting Division 2 North and Isle of Man 2 part of Division 3 North. Isle of Man started their day in commanding fashion with a 9-2 win over Lothian 1 in the morning session. However, they faced a stiffer test in the afternoon against Lancashire 2. Despite battling well, they found themselves on the wrong end of a 7-4 scoreline. Elsewhere, Isle of Man 2 began their day of competition at Notts Chilwell Olympia, going down 8-3 up against Derbyshire 2, but the Manx team bounced back later in the day to record an 8-3 win over Nottinghamshire 3. In cycling, another of the Isle of Man's pro competitors has put pen to paper on a new deal for the upcoming new season. Sam Brand has signed a contract extension with US-based outfit Team Novo Nordisk to remain in the squad for the 2024 roster. Brand is one of 16 riders at Team Novo Nordisk who've renewed their commitments, whilst 4 new signings have also been added. The Island rider's most recent outings saw him finish 28th overall in the Tour of Hainan in China on the 9th of October to secure his first UCI points of the campaign, before he was a non-finisher at the Japan Cup 4 days later. And finally, more than 130 young Isle of Man athletes will be part of the latest Sport Aid Academy programme. The latest programme, which runs from 2023 to 2025, includes athletes aged 13 to 16 across various sports, including football, rugby, swimming and gymnastics. It runs from September to April each year and allows students to be nominated by sporting bodies or schools to take part in the curriculum, which includes learning skills around team building, review performance, rest and recovery and physical preparation. Isle of Man Sport Aid has already supported elite Manx competitors in the past, such as Mark Cavendish, Yasmin Ingham, Lizzie Holden and numerous others.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Inbound at Ronaldsway. Next, we've got the 7:30 EasyJet from London Gatwick, the 10-8 Loganair from London City, and the 5-8 returning patient transfer Loganair from Liverpool, all showing on time. Outbound 6 o'clock Loganair to Liverpool, and the 8 o'clock EasyJet back to London Gatwick. On the roads, Old Laxey Hill's closed for excavation work. We've got temporary lights on the main road in Laxey near Churchill. They're doing some gas main work there. Port Sodrick Glen Road's closed for tree trimming, and temporary 24-hour lights at the bottom of Colby Glen Road for gully repairs. The Clanner Road in Sulby's closed for resurfacing. In Douglas, Hillside Avenue is closed through to Circular Road for adjacent office window replacement. Temporary lights on Glen Crutchery Road at the roundabout with Victoria Road for resurfacing. A section of Switzerland Road's closed for construction work for the next year. Lights too between Johnny Watterson Lane and the Scollock Road on Ballynard Road for ditch clearing. Temporary lights on Market Street in Douglas near Chester Street car park for water main work. Temporary lights on the main road near the Ballavitchel Road, the A1 in Crosby for excavation work, and in Glen May the Aracy Road's closed from Glen May to the Shoulder Road for resurfacing.
Quayside Tyres and Service Centre. Spread your payments interest-free. Get more with
Quayside.
This is the most listened to Isle of Man news source, and Manx Radio's Update is the Isle of Man's most downloaded news podcast.
The Chamber of Commerce says it supports the Department for Enterprise's decision to withdraw a Tynwald motion calling for the temporary suspension of work permits. Chamber President Kristen MacDonald says it's become clear that from talks with the DFE, there are important political matters which need to be addressed in addition to the concerns of business. Simon's back with that story.
The recent quarterly economic survey from the Chamber showed a strong consensus in favour of relaxing work permit rules in order to help address the labour shortage affecting most sectors drivers of the economy. Despite this, Chamber is supporting DfE's decision to carry out further engagement, even though it will inevitably lead to a delay in reforms being proposed and introduced. Any delay will be regarded as a serious setback by many companies desperate to fill vacancies. On the other side of the argument, there'll be relief among opponents of the plans who feared removing work permits would open the floodgates to uncontrolled immigration. The Chamber's views on work permits were set out clearly last month by Chief Executive Officer Rebecca George.
So over the years, we've seen more and more exemptions come into play against various sectors that are struggling to recruit in certain areas. It's now got to the stage where there are so many exemptions that really we have to look at the work permit system and think about whether it's actually appropriate for this current economic climate.
The first evidence of political unease over the DfE's proposals came when Speaker of the House of Keys Duane Watterson fired a shot across their bows. He said potential changes to work permit legislation on the Isle of Man needed further scrutiny and were contentious. He activated a rarely used Tynwald protocol introduced in 2021 in a bid to ensure politicians properly assess the legislation.
These 2021 changes allow us to pick things up and say, hang on a second, this is a far bigger import, and provided that it's not done under an urgency procedure, it means that if sufficient numbers support it, it can just be slowed down a gear, taken through the branches potentially, or even just moved up the order paper.
The end result was the withdrawal of the Keys motion and the promise of further engagement with stakeholders.
That's it for Update Tonight, compiled from the resources of Manx Radio's news department. Thanks to the newsreader Siobhan Fletcher, producer Amy Griffiths. After the news at 6, Howie Kane's along with Spotlight, the greatest hits with Chris Kinley, 6:30, Ernie Thorne with Opera at 9, and Simon Clark at 10.
WINT